Hey everybody, Explosive Druid here. I have just completed my Bravelocke for the second Monster Sanctuary contest. The seed was 266330, as you can see here. I'm going to go ahead and start the video. It's about a 3-hour run, which is by far the quickest I've ever done. I think before that, the fastest is about 5 hours, 10 minutes or so. Um, and I've known that there's like room to improve that, but most of my runs have been like master mode, tribal stuff, or master mode, bravery, no RNG. I haven't done that many of these like full Bravelocke with RNG, permadeath, and all that enabled. Um, Although we can use casual because the difficulties can't be verified, I suppose. So that is listed in the rules. You're allowed to use any difficulty you choose. Because we are, trying to do this quickly, we're going to go on casual. So as you can see, we have started off with the Spectral Lion, the Tar Blob, and Scorch. I was pretty excited to see these three because all three are really good for burn teams. They have a decent amount of synergy, and I figured these guys can pretty much go all the way to the end as long as none of them die. So starts pretty straightforward. You'll see me kind of just like when I try to initiate the mobs, you see how I try to jump over them and be on the right side. Because I'm going to the right. Like I know after this battle I'm going to be exiting to the right. If you encounter a mob and it is facing, or rather, when you encounter a mob, you start on the direction that it is facing. So if the monster is facing to the right, you start on the right side of the field. If the monster you bumped into is facing to the left, you start on the left side of the field. And these positions, as far as I can tell, are pretty static, so you can kind of, determine where you're going to actually be afterwards and actually gain a little bit of ground. You can also lose time trying to do this, as I'm sure you'll undoubtedly see me do in the run at some point, but I don't know, it's something kind of entertaining to just do with your movement while you play. So most of these fights are pretty straightforward in the beginning. I'm not seeing too many wild monsters that are like really exciting me about drops. You can see I kind of actually paused here a little bit. That was in the Discord. I saw that the contest had started, the channels were created, but there wasn't a news post yet, so I was asking if there was going to be a news post so that we could, ping people and get the contest moving. And that was already in the works, so I wasted a little time there doing that, but hey. Early on, there's not a whole lot to talk about as far as like builds and stuff go. I'm pretty much just putting in aggressive skill points. I think I put in a heal somewhere just to keep myself topped off in case there's anything crazy coming up. But for the most part, I'm just looking to do damage right now. I don't really need a whole lot of other stuff. Don't need bulk. Don't need a ton of mana regen because we're mostly just kind of 1 or 2 shot things. Yeah. I did note here that there is a Megatar available, which I know drops Rawhide, which can save me some time in the Snowy Peaks. So, in this case, you can see it's the middle one, which was the Vero, the Oasis Veros. Further in, there is a triple Vero encounter, so that's going to be, triple Megatar, which makes them quite easy to farm for Rawhide. So, that was just kind of a mental note at this point to make. At this point, I'm just kind of addressing mana and defenses with the gear that I have, but really just equipping things willy-nilly, because, yeah, it doesn't matter too much at the moment. Most of that stuff's defensive. The +3 Vital Rings are a pretty big pickup there, though, because it does allow me to be more aggressive than normal. It means that I don't have to put as much, focus on my gear into other stats like defense and health. Alright, here's the Megatar encounter I was talking about. You'll notice I'm careful to avoid the encounter because I want to first check the egg and hatch it so that it gets XP from this fight. If you do this fight before hatching the egg, then that egg is forever like 1 fight behind, and if that's an egg you want to switch to immediately, that can be kind of a pain. So I just prefer to hatch that one as soon as I can. Megatar's nice easy burn fodder here. I'm just letting those die to burn as I work down the majority of the health on the unburned ones. It's another little time save. Instead of eliminating an enemy that could be a threat, I know they're not a threat, so instead I'm just going to leave them alive and spread my damage out, kill them quicker. you want to focus fire when you're afraid of something. Or if that monster is going to draw out the fight. That's another situation where you'll focus fire instead of spreading out like I was doing. You see here, I'm spreading out as well. I know that I want to apply burns as much as I can everywhere because that's going to factor into score. And while these monsters don't drop anything particularly insane, they are going to give me some potential crafting materials for later, food drops, things like that. So I want to make sure I'm at least somewhat paying attention to score, you know. Grab some chests for an orb and a morning star there. Yeah, not huge pickups, but something. So at this point, again, I'm looking for more damage. That's why I take the charged up on Scorch, because I know Scorch is going to attack in a lot of these fights. So may as well just get that extra damage out while we can. There we go, jumping over another mob so that when we exit the fight, we're already on the left side. Don't have to backtrack across the floor here. It's a little thing. I really don't even know like if that saves time or not, but it keeps me entertained as far as the movement goes. So I just do it anyway. The mob AI is a little bit strange. I don't know that I have it completely figured out, but as far as I can tell, when you are standing at a distance from a mob, they mostly ignore you and just seem to move around randomly. But once you get close to a mob, it seems like there's a very short duration in which, I don't know if they're like repeatedly making a check or if it's just a timer or what, but within about a half second, they will turn around and face you, in which case you can run into them and encounter them. The vertical position you're at, I don't think matters, or if it does, it's fairly generous above and below them. So you can use this, you know, basically picture each monster as like a vertical line from top to the bottom of the screen, and you just need to be on the correct side of that line. Make sure they're facing you, and then encounter them. On rare instances, you can sit there and like wait on the mob to turn around, and then you'll try to run into it, and it will actually turn around again. That doesn't happen very often, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And I'm pretty sure when it happens, it's because I'm crossing that line. I'm going to the wrong side by accident, usually like trying to jump over them or something. So what happens is they're facing the right way, and then I'll land, and they'll turn around the other way. Like, not towards me, which is not the best. Anyway, I saw Diavola here on the field. I was a little worried about that, because I don't know at what point it receives the bleed reflection thing. So I was just going to save Diavola for last and try to kill it before any reflective bleed can proc. Kill it, just we don't have to worry about it. I think I saw the Tarblob attack it though and was pretty sure that it wasn't reflecting bleed yet, so it seems like it was a fairly safe fight. Those are some smoke bombs on that chest. These are basic gear pieces. Probably not stuff I'll use long, but you know, we don't have any gear, so it's better than nothing. This was the first fight that kind of concerned me, because if those Tengu both fireballed the Scorch, Scorch could be in a lot of danger there, so leaving the Tengu alive for as long as I did is a little bit questionable. But I also kind of figured they weren't going to die in one turn, whereas the other one was. So I heard the level up sound, but it looks like it was for the Diavola. I'll go ahead and swapping in some aggressive items where we can. And just filling out the rest of the slots with whatever we have. Double checking everything. Moving a helmet off of Scorch because that makes 0 sense. And into the fight we go. To happily see 3 ice blobs. Followed by a Mogwai. This seed was kind of insane. Not just because the starting team is good, but because, like, every important fight is more or less weak to what Lion does, between fire, neutral, and earth. So you have a solid burn team with the DPS that can super effectively hit basically every boss, keeper battle, etc. And the real kicker here, and this is kind of RNG, so like I got lucky here. I suppose. I mean, maybe if I 6-starred it, it wasn't luck, but I don't know if I 6-starred it. We'll find out shortly. In any case, this Mogwai dropped me a +3 Shuriken, which I didn't realize till a little bit later, but once I did realize, yeah, that made a huge difference. I don't even see if I 6-starred it or not. I'll have to go back and review the video after myself. No matter. Alright, so in this case, I'm avoiding encounter rooms. There is a helmet I can go grab for free, and I think like some gold or something, but I wasn't too concerned about those. When you go into a room with an encounter in it, for each encounter in that room, whether or not you reveal it on the map, like the shadowy squares for each part of the bigger rooms, as long as you enter that room, period, for each encounter, the enemy level, global level, raises a little bit. And the idea is that if you just kill every pack that you're fighting along the way, that you'll be roughly on par with, you know, the enemies. So there are some things you can kind of do to manipulate that one way or another, but this run, honestly, I just kind of fought everything in my path until the tower, skipping some repeat fights or particularly, you know, dangerous or slow-looking fights, but otherwise, just kind of fighting everything on the way and taking the natural XP. Just because Lion was able to obliterate everything once I put that Shuriken on. Around the time I got Firestorm going, so I was able to just start AoEing things. And those Vital Rings also let me just tank, essentially, so I didn't have to worry about defenses. I wasn't too concerned with food or anything at this point, because obviously, you know, our gear from RNG mode drops is, yeah, it's pretty strong. Now to the left there's an Ocarina and I think some gold or something you can grab, but I didn't see the need in this particular run because I intended on bringing these 3 to the end. And I was not going to put an Ocarina on any of these. Alright, so early on I do fight a couple of extra things because blue caves are kind of a pain early. Granted, I have a lot of restoration on this team, so this might have been a waste of time, but it doesn't take too long to kill them, so I figured I may as well. Plus they could drop some extra food or, you know, crafting material for later. I don't know if they did or not. I tend to just skip through the drops and check my inventory, see what I have later, but unless there's a particular drop I'm looking for. Picking up the burn application on crit, improving our healing. We can't critically heal with the Tar Blob yet, so that's a little awkward, but hey. I will say the one kind of awkward bit that I struggled with and maybe should have paid more attention to in this run was mana regeneration. I just kind of kept assuming that I would find some items that would be really high on mana regeneration, just from RNG mode being the way it is, and I don't think that ever happened, so I ended up with pretty mundane gear, or just whatever, you know, I was upgrading along the way, on top of basic drops, but I don't think anything was too mana heavy, so I was struggling a lot with, especially the Lion, being able to afford its spells. Alright, so you can see me there just wasting time to allegedly save time. That's one of those situations. But I had fun with it, so, you know, all fun. So we've got more Minitaurs here. These are, again, farmable for the Rawhide. There's also the Diavola, which I wasn't too concerned about the bleed because I hadn't seen it proc, so it's freely attacking it, letting the burns kill the Minitaurs. I do believe I dropped Rawhide from the triple Megataur encounter. I don't think I pointed that out. One of those Megataur encounters gave me Rawhide, so I know that for sure. Because when I went to go check for it, I already had some, and that it sped up the snowy peaks quite a bit. Anyway, what I was saying about the level stuff is I don't want to raise the global level of enemies. I want to keep that as low as possible while gaining as much XP as I can. So I'm avoiding encounter rooms that aren't necessary, basically. Unless there's a particular item or, you know, something I want to go in there for that I think is worth it. But yeah, so here we're just buying some basics to get started, make sure I've got enough walnuts. I tend to value defense as a stat for PvE more than HP. Yeah, so you'll see my mons are pretty bulky for most of the run because of that. And then before I explore the rest of the stronghold and level up my gear, I go check the Blue Cave's egg, see what it is. Not particularly interested unless I lose something here, but it is another good burn mon, so it's another potential replacement for later. I didn't hatch the egg because I believe Steam Egg gives tackle, and yes, I go out of my way here to put on a costume because we can. But I believe the Steam Golem uses tackle, which is not an explorability I needed, so if I were to hatch it now and use it later, I would have to spend more level badges on it, and that's not worth it. So we just keep the egg, and you'll see that a lot this run. So yeah, just basically picking up the brooch and I think some skill resetters, a cape, hide +1, and a staff, I want to say, are all the starting things. And then grabbing an early waypoint, just for later use, which I forgot to use, so wasted a bit more time there. There's where I noticed the Shuriken +3. We start swapping to a very aggressive loadout. I believe, yeah, pretty glass cannon, because I'm confident that that Shuriken's going to carry me. It's just kind of tanking up on the other guys. So focusing on the Lion's gear, upgrading that as much as I can. The rest of the gear I pretty much don't care about. It's just there because those monsters exist on my team. They're basically just there to build combo for Lion right now. Like, there's not a whole lot of other point. Just because we're low level, there's not a whole lot of synergy going on yet. So at this point I say you can on the field. I know those are quite dangerous if they stack too much armor break, so I just want to get rid of that. Because Sizzle Knights can hit pretty hard. Yeah. And you can see again there, I thought I'd be okay to leave you can alive and let it die to burn every 2 turns, which was okay and what happened, so that was a good call. That key, this is a bracelet +1. I tend to grab it just because bracelet is a fantastic item, and having it already +1 means I don't have to upgrade it. And these RNG mode runs are kind of weird with like upgrade material because you're not fighting the standard monster sets. So like Blue Caves, for example, didn't necessarily, or sorry, Mountain Path didn't necessarily give me, you know, Mountain Path crafting material. So I may not be able to upgrade from +0 to +1. Until I can purchase that material. So, again, grabbing that bracelet is pretty big, I think, if you're going to end up using it. Once again, letting the Ucan die to burn, He has high attack, and he's weak to fire, so the burn does a lot of damage to it. Failed to jump there, quite miserably. And then I remembered that, or not remembered, but basically I screwed up the lever there. You're supposed to pull that twice. I apparently only pulled it once, so I had to go back around. Another unfortunate mistake, but that's okay. They happen. There's a lot to remember, so I do tend to forget some things. Or just screw them up like that. I think I just messed up the inputs, because I know, like, 2 is how many I need for that one. In any case, we've got 3 Sizzle Knights up here, just grabbing those for XP, really. Not much else I need from up here. There's a guitar, I think, to the left, and then above is like a ribbon +2 or something. Maybe diadem +2, I don't know, some mana item. I didn't particularly care, so I left it alone. I believe that chest is a walnut, which I was not about to go out of my way for. Not that I even had the ability to do that, but yeah, it's not one I usually bother with. Alright, so at this point we are just beelining straight down for the double jump boots. Yeah, not much to say about that really. Those are some crafting materials, I believe gems. So I can pick those up. The items in RNG mode do not change. So like drops from Sizzle Knight will always be the same drops from Sizzle Knight. They don't randomize into something else. Same thing with the chests. They are always the same loot. So we've got some brutes here. Those are pretty easy to kill, and I'm not too worried about their damage, so I'm just gonna get rid of that bear. Sorry, brutes are easy to kill if you have physical damage. So, in this case I knew they'd be easy. So, without flying of some sort or double jump, you cannot go up to get the second key, which is unfortunate, so we have to kind of skip that and backtrack to it later. I couldn't tell where the mole bear was facing because it was in ball form, so I just ran into it. Better to just get into the battle than finagle over that. Approaching level 10, so at this point I'm just kind of filling in passives. I've got most of what I want from this tier. And I figured that I will probably just respec at 10, as I usually do. I find that's better than just sitting on points. Same thing with 20 and 30. Each threshold basically for the skill point tiers. So these Rathops were kind of a pain through the blue caves just because they were so tanky and they've got that full protect. So they would, you know, protect their allies, which meant that I had to attack through it since I don't have any AoEs yet, or significant AoEs yet. So you can see the mole bear should die to that burn unless something crazy happens. I'm just gonna let that happen and work on the other one. Here we go with more Rathops, just being a pain. As they do. They also apply a lot of debuffs, which was causing me problems in some fights. Not so much these early ones, but later in. Looks like these guys replaced Fungi? Or Tengu? No, Tengu was replaced by Sizzle Knight, so this is Fungi replacement. Because that fight is 2 Fungi and a Tengu. Oh wait, no, I lied. We're not where I thought I was. Those are monks and a frost. No, monks and a Tengu, right? I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't matter too much. I just get whatever's in front of me. So at this point, we have the double jump boots, and we are picking up some more crafting material plus that other key. And I think I'm gonna head back to the sanctuary at that point to go level up gear. That was a shell plus 2, that was not worth it. I can never remember what's in that, probably because it's not worth it. The chests at the top are worth it though, they are like, I think it's one of the metals, it's like bronze or iron or something, and then the other one is, I think, wool or cotton, one of the fiber materials. The chest up there, I believe, is like sustain ring plus 2 or plus 3. Usually don't really bother with sustain ring unless I really have to, so I didn't foresee that being a case, and decided to just leave it alone. So yeah, I figure at this point we may as well check in on our monsters, do some feeding, some upgrades, head into the Minitaur, see what that fight is. Swapping into a little bit more defensive stuff, just trying to preserve our healers and stuff, as things should start catching up in our gear levels soon. Upgrading Shuriken for the Blob, even though he's not a critical healer yet, he does do a lot of damage, so just keep him relevant. So we see our fight is a Steam Golem. I think that's got Tackle, maybe like Earth Rain or whatever. The rock one, Stone Ran that. I don't even know if it has that. I'm just guessing here. Yeah, it does. There it is. So nothing too concerning. It doesn't have Shield Bonk till way later. I was pretty confident they weren't going to give it that in a casual mode. So, yeah, wasn't too concerned with this fight. Just gonna hit it until it dies. I debated at this point if I was going to go fight Spectre or not, and my thinking was that I could potentially rank up sooner to get, you know, better upgrade materials and whatnot, but what I forgot is on the way to Spectre you actually get 3 crystal shards, which are hugely useful in a run like this, so I could have saved even more time if I had gone and gotten those, and you'll see a little bit later I'm kind of floundering trying to deal with not having them. I think I made it work, but yeah, the good call here would have been to keep going, or to keep going and go pick those up and fight Spectre. That's okay though, it's a lesson learned. Alright, so at this point, before we can go into the Stronghold Dungeon, we are going to have to fight Will, which you can just forfeit out of, so obviously I'm not going to waste the time to fight him. We're just going to leave that fight. And then, let's see. So at this point, you have a decision. You can either go to the Snowy Peaks, or you can go to the Stronghold Dungeon. I chose Snowy Peaks, just because that is where I tend to go first. and I knew that I had Rawhide to do that area quickly, so figured I would just head that way and see what I find. Another reason is if you leave the eggs in the chests, like if you don't go into the rooms that contain the egg chests, then those eggs can end up being shifted if you kill Zosimos first. Or not kill him, but if you defeat him at the top of the Sun Palace. The thing that triggers shifting, basically. If you do that event, then all the existing undiscovered chests have a chance to become shifted. As if, they would like any other monster, I presume. So, there is some value to leaving those eggs and just picking them up later, and doing Sun Palace super duper early, but I think I decided not to do that because I already had a good team. Like, I wasn't yearning for more monsters. This team is perfectly good by me. We skipped that chest because it's a mana ring +3, which, meh, whatever. Alright, so we got a Tengu egg. Tengu gives me Ignite, which I've already got. And I'm not going to be using it, so I just didn't hatch it. If I do decide to use it, it'd be better to hatch it later. But again, since I don't need the Explorer ability, and I'm not swapping it into the team, it may as well just stay in the egg. That little nook there, I believe, holds hazelnut, or no, it's a strawberry, I'm sorry. It's, I believe, an 8% crit food, which, would help. I'm kind of expecting to get better stuff from drops anyway. So I haven't bothered changing Explorer abilities to go break that. In that instance, I actually gained a lot of distance by encountering these guys on the right. Could have done the same thing as I was approaching, encounter them on the left, and then pull the lever after, but by doing it this way, I feel like I am less prone to forgetting if I pulled the lever or not. Because the fight comes after. I don't know, I can just head up to the right now. If I'm on the left, then I'm sitting there like, okay, did I pull this lever yet before the fight or not? And I can never remember, so I don't know. Try to get it on the way back. We come in here for some wool. If we had a flying monster, we could jump across that gap, get a hide +3, but we have not encountered that yet, so we've got 2 hazelnuts and some more crafting material here. I wouldn't go out of my way for the hazelnuts, but crafting material is valuable. Alright, there is a belt +3 in this chest. I know that we are potentially using a belt since we have a lot of crit monsters going on, so I figured I'd grab that. There's also corn in that last room, but again, I'm kind of expecting better food, so I wasn't going too out of my way for the corn. There we go, letting our supports kill a Scorch while the lion kills another. Nice quick fight. Alright, so at this point we're level 10, and I should have honestly respect because that's kind of what I was planning on doing at 10, but I forgot and didn't, so I just kind of rolled with it. We took Firestorm on the lion so that we could start AoE clearing. To the bottom left, there's a cave with the skill potion in it. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get unless you have some way to light up the cave. You can platform through it, but unless you're, really consistent with it, it's going to take a lot of time, so that didn't seem worth it for a skill potion. Just drop like candy in these runs. so we picked up we're picking up a bracelet +3, which we're just gonna swap in because, yeah, it's an upgrade. Here I'm discovering that I don't have the base mana to cast Firestorm on turn 1, which is kind of a problem. It's a wasted skill point. Or requires, you know, putting on mana gear or food. Clearly I have the regen to cast it, because I'm able to cast it after, but just not the base mana yet. Too low level. No mana gear on. I'm being aggressive here, because I'm not worried about them killing anything. Just burn them down. Head over here, grab this waypoint, and I also tend to trigger this thing because it annoys me later when I'm coming back and want to jump into the water, and it cuts all my momentum. So we're gonna skip the Dodo Lady. Again, I was pretty happy with my team, not really looking for any trades, so maybe could have traded for like an improved flyer or something. I don't know what she even had. Just wasn't worth checking, I don't think. Not too much to talk about through all this, sorry I'm a little quiet. It's just kind of basic fights as we get through the snowy peaks here. Just murder all the XP bubbles on the way. Alright, so coming up we have the Bridge of Doom. This bridge, I don't like touching. You can see I'm very much trying to stay in the air. For some reason this bridge, when you're running across it, will like occasionally jank out, and like I guess the way that the little bridge components move, they end up blocking you, so your character keeps running but stays in place. You lose all your momentum, it's really annoying, so just try to not touch the bridge as much as I can. So since we had the rawhide already, I can head over here, talk to the clothesmaker, get the warm underwear, and not have to make a full loop back up to her. Sometimes if you don't have rawhide, you have to go down. You'll see I actually go out of my way to pick up the rawhide anyway, because it is a crafting material. But after that, normally you would have to loop back up to that house, and then back down, which is just a whole lot of backtracking that I didn't want to do. Picking up some more crafting material, like a skill resetter or something there. Level badge, yeah, potentially useful. potion, and then break our way into the hide room. Grab the hide, and leave. Alright, so at this point I want to go into the Sun Palace, check our eggs, see what that is, and also just get the waypoint. That does increase the global level of enemies a little bit, which maybe isn't ideal, just because they'll take longer to kill, but it's only a couple of rooms, I wasn't too concerned about it. Figured it was worth coming in here and checking, and it was worth it. Our egg was a Griffinix. So all these monsters are minimum level 18, I want to say? And I'm level 11, and while we could take them, it would take a long time. I'd be sitting there just basically healing and waiting on burn to kill them. Not really worth it, so we're just going to skip past these, raise the level encounter, not gain any XP in the process, and yeah. Didn't want to fight him. I just wanted to... I was trying to get to the item up there, and then I remembered it's a Sunstone, and I don't have any use for that, so just moved on. Down here there's a coat +4. This is a pretty valuable pickup, so of course I did go ahead and grab it. Alright, and at this point I'm pretty happy. We have our Griffinix to move around, we've got a team set up, we've got high level items, so I can just continue cruising through content. I decided to head back, and rather than worry about Zosimos and, you know, shifted eggs and stuff later, because this team is already so strong, I'm just going to go hatch the eggs now. Plus, again, it would take a long time to get through the Sun Palace at this low of a level. We would get to Zosimos and he'd be like level 17, we'd probably be 13 to 15, and because it is a stall fight, that's not really favorable. So I'll come down here to grab the katana just in case, because katana's fantastic. You never know, maybe Lion dies and I need to replace it. Alright, then we get our stronghold monster, the Shockhopper, which I don't think ever came out of its egg. Shockhopper has explorer abilities that are not required, they can get you some extra loot. I honestly don't know what the loot is. Didn't bother, so. Just burn them all down, leave the Shockhopper in the egg, there's no intent to use it. We'll level that Griffinix up since we just leveled our main monsters. We can take advantage of that, get the level badge in. Because there's a good chance, I'm thinking, that Griffinix will come in as a team player at some point if, you know, something dies or I decide to switch it in or whatever. Alright, getting deeper into those tier 2 trees. Just kind of seeing what all is available. I see that Scorch has a critical boon available, so whenever it crits, it will apply buffs to our team, which is good, because I want to get some buffs up and running. Lion is very much, you know, a monster that appreciates buffs. It's not just a burn monster, so I'd like to lean into that some and start getting that online. I have a tendency to order my moves in a certain way so that I can just attack quickly, because I know my method. There's a method to the madness, but it is madness. It is complete madness. Just trust in that when I move my moves around, it's for my benefit, so that I can quickly select them. And that has to be done after every respec, so that does happen occasionally throughout the run. So this guy's dropped bananas, I believe, which is a very, very high value food. Yeah, at this point I was crossing over and decided I'm going to take a couple more XP penalties and go and grab the... I thought it was a shift stone in here, but it's actually a switch stone. But I also wanted to grab the egg that's here and the waypoint so I can get back quickly later. when I'm ready to actually clear this area, because I think they're level 24 minimum or something. So we're like, you know, like a 10, almost 15 levels under that. I'm not about to fight them. Just kind of scouting the area, and I guess I'm grabbing that waypoint for later. I think that's 3 extra encounters added. Boost global levels that I'm not getting XP from. So again, maybe a questionable decision, but it's the one I made. Alright, making our way back over, we're gonna go check the forest egg, and then decide if we're gonna do the stronghold or just continue through the forest at that point. That's basically our next fork. Alright, so we head outside, we get Beetleoid. Not too particularly interested for this team, but a valuable monster. Not something I need to hatch. More importantly on this screen, we have a Terradrill. Terradrill can drop shift stones, so I decide at this point I'm going to continue into the woods, hope to get some shift stones, and at the very least if I don't get shift stones, by the time I'm done with the woods, I can come back and farm these lower level Terradrills and ensure that I get them. So that was the decision making there. I don't know if the recorded audio sounds funky, but for some reason I'm hearing some weird audio issues with this recording, so hopefully they just isolated it a little bit that I just heard. Alright, so at this point I saw I had 1 Monster Bell. I figured I'd take my chances, try to get a Shipstone here. I don't know if that was a good call, just because this fight does take a while, and I didn't have a consistent way of 5-starring it. So this Shipstone drop would have been, like, clutch, but not likely, which means that this was probably a bad call to try for it at all. In any case, if you can't tell, the Shipstone did not drop, so we are just walking away sad, having wasted some time. Granted, I did get some makeup XP from that, so it's not all bad. At this point, I think I have some high-level food waiting to be eaten, and just haven't taken the time to feed yet, but yeah, it's sitting in the inventory waiting. Because of those global level increases, you can see things are slowing down considerably here in the woods, and this is why I say I'm not sure that it was worth it. Just because I do lose a lot of time here on these slower fights. You know, fights were taking like 2 to 3 turns. This is like 4 or 5. It's much slower. Plus I'm dying, which is never good to see. If you start dying in a run, then it's likely that everything you encounter is going to be difficult. Aside from, you know, some occasional one-shots, but like if you are consistently losing a lot of health in fights, that probably isn't going to change unless you make some changes to your team. So that was concerning to see. At this point, I'm basically just kind of waiting to see how that continues, to see if I want to try to make up that lost XP or just brute force through and catch up later. I also know that we have to get the lever puzzle done here, so I go ahead and do that. You notice I moved through it pretty quickly. The lever puzzle actually is straightforward. The only thing, like, there's 2 rules to remember. First rule, if you pass by a lever that you have access to, pull that lever. Step 2, or rule number 2, do not pull the lever at the top right. You'll see it coming up here shortly. It has no use in terms of solving the puzzle. It's probably there either as a troll or to reset some things so you don't get soft-locked. I don't know. But in either case, just follow those 2 rules and this puzzle is super simple. So blue lever again coming up at the top right. Notice I didn't pull it the first time. I'm also not going to pull it the second time. Just never pull it. And that's it. Alright, so this room, I tend to grab this little chest here and then make a loop around to the waypoint. So, just making that right now. We do have some more terror drills to potentially drop ship stones here, so that's, that's nice. Rather slow fight here with all the age and tether and all the barriers. Just basically a bunch of bulky monsters. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, this is a real slow fight. This is not what you want to see. This is where I was getting concerned that I had thrown the run. Fortunately, it wasn't too bad. I didn't go, too overboard on the underlevel issue, but I was concerned for sure at this point. Those terror drills were both a curse and a blessing. They were, I think, my only source of shipstones through the whole run. Not in terms of what's available, but in terms of what I actually got. But yeah, they're very bulky creatures. Plus they remove burn from the whole team for each terror drill on the field, which is or they remove a debuff each turn, not necessarily burn. But yeah, that gets to be pretty obnoxious. So at this point I made a bad call. I got 1 shipstone, and what I should have done is use that shipstone for something aggressive, so I'd have a better chance of getting more shipstones. Instead, I put it into Overheal on Tarblob, which not only isn't aggressive, but also ended up not getting really any value. I kind of overestimated the amount of healing I was going to get this run, I think because I was making my Tarblob more of an aggressive build. So, yeah, Overheal really didn't do a whole lot. I could have done debuff variety, but more importantly, I could have done buff mastery on my Scorch, followed by heroic assault on the Lion, which I eventually do, but yeah, that was a waste of the first shipstone for sure. So at this point, I'm looking for 2 more shipstones, just killing these terror drills, and hoping they drop, but basically making my way over to the waypoint, clearing this area out. My thoughts are at this stage that I can come back here, farm these territories later on a higher level, and consistently 5 or 6 star them, and that should be a good source for shipstones. I'll basically just deal with unshifted monsters for a little bit longer. And this also kind of like seals in saving Zosimos until much later. Yeah, because Zosimos is the event that like causes shifting to happen in the world, and if we have access to shipstones before Zosimos, then we can just shift our own monsters, and none of the enemies have shifted monsters, which means they'll go down a little easier. It's always a decision, do you do Zosimos first or last? Because if you do them first, you get early access to shifting, and so does everything else. If you do them last, there's a chance you get shiftstones on the way, which is kind of preferable. Couple crystal snails to obliterate, and then we can check in on the Ostanes fight. That fight with I guess with randomizer, all the keeper fights are potentially dangerous. So basically go in and scout them, and then once you know what's in the fight, you can either decide to forfeit, where you lose no monsters, you can come back later, fight it again, and it'll be level locked in at whatever level it was when you encountered it. Or you can just go ahead and fight it as you get there, which is preferable if you are confident that your team can handle it. So again, it's kind of just checking, going in the door, seeing what's there, and making a judgment call from that point. In the meanwhile, a couple more XP bubbles to clean up outside. Those encounters done, we are heading into Ostanes just under an hour here according to the in-game timer. It's worth noting that the in-game timer doesn't necessarily sync up accurately with the a real timer. I don't know exactly what differences there are. Sometimes it's ahead, sometimes it's behind, but I turn it on just because I like to look at it. It gives me a relative idea of where I'm at in a run. Maybe not down to the exact second, but it's still a good, marker to have, I suppose. So, getting a little worried about the Scorch here. It does take a lot of damage. There's a lot of fire damage on the field in general, so kind of deciding what components of that fire damage can I eliminate, and I decided the easiest would probably be the Kanko. Steam Golem is pretty beefy. I don't have anything that's super effective against it. Plus, the Kanko provides a lot of buffs to the team, particularly regen, which somewhat counters my burn because it rocks first. So, just another reason to try to remove that quickly. It still took multiple turns. Not ideal, but, doing what we can. finally, the Nikinaka that refuses to die goes down. And we just have bulk left on the field. There's a Steam Golem, a Tar Blob, and a Crystal Snail, none of which are particularly squishy. I guess the Tar Blob to an extent, but I mean, they're all pretty bulky monsters generally. Decided to go for the cat, both because it has the least amount of dodge, and again because it'll apply buffs, which are a problem, and remove my debuffs. It's there, which is also a problem. So, cat's gotta go. Tether to try to deal with some of that dodge. Just stay topped off, remove all the debuffs, and poke him down. Probably shouldn't use Fire Claws there, so misplay. Alright, into Infinity 3 here. All those bulky monsters, plus the XP gap I haven't quite closed yet. Plus, gear is starting to fall behind, or not fall behind, but like enemies are catching up to it essentially. So I'm not able to AoE one-shot everything anymore, or two-shot, whatever was happening. Assuming the Minitaur is going to die to Buran here. Just focused on the Nikinaka, or actually decided to kill it outright, because it doesn't matter, either way it's going to die. In any case, get stuck in the little nook there, which would have been fantastic if I had no way out. I've never been stuck there, so I was a little concerned. But, seems I was able to get out the way I got in. There are some stuck spots in this area if you're jumping around, especially on a mount. I don't know why this area of collision is problematic sometimes. You can actually clip through into the like ceiling above and get stuck up there. Yeah, just be careful when you're platforming around in here because you don't want to get stuck. Like I almost did. So that gave us a key. We're going to head over to the Goblin King and Raduga shortly after, just cleaning up some champions to try to rank up and ideally get those crystal shards I didn't grab earlier. Nicely timed level up just right before the champion fight coming up. Didn't intend for that, but happy accident. So annoyingly there is a Nikinaka, which has to die for aforementioned reasons, but is also difficult to kill quickly, so yeah, it's a bit of an awkward start. Luckily nothing too threatening on the field, so I'm not too concerned about it. But yeah, don't want to have these minions alive for more than a turn or two, typically. of Firestorm there, but I think Fire Claws was the safer option to make sure Nika dies, and then the Minotaur is just going to go down to supports attacking it and debuffs and all that nonsense. And then we discover more mana problems on the Lion. We need Jewel Blast, but can't cast it. Which leaves me with a low-level Stone Rain, or just just neutral moves. One of those weird stuck spots. I don't remember what's in that chest, but clearly wasn't important. Didn't need it. So at this point, we're getting a little deeper into the tier. You'll notice at each tier, things are kind of this way. So like as you approach level 10, you'll be basically very, very powerful. And then as soon as you hit level 10, it is a big power bump, but relative to what the enemies are gaining, you feel a little bit weaker. It's like you're starting over again, like you're at the beginning of the tier, level 10. Same thing with 20 and 30. So from like 10 to 15, you want to try to be a little more careful, a little more defensive, and then expect from 15 to 19, it's going to pick up. You can be a little more aggressive. So you start to get more and more of those tier 2 passives. And the same goes for the higher tiers. Like that, yeah. I think I need to repeat myself for those, but that's the idea. So you can see we're getting to that midpoint of the tier. We are getting a little bit stronger. Also catching up in that XP gap that I created, and yeah. So grab our waypoint, get out of here, we don't need anything else. And finally do some much needed maintenance. I think we'd like feed our monsters and upgrade gear and stuff here, which clearly was much needed. Some of the bananas that I'm carrying, start to beef up the supports. Just making sure I've got about 5 of each item so I can craft a couple of upgrades. I wasn't thrilled about the crit ring here. See, I was looking for something to swap it with. Found the coat, which was nice. But then the Tar Blob was... Oh no, actually Tar Blob I replaced with this fin, and then the Scorch I think was still stuck with the Vital Ring. I don't know if I ever changed that out, but yeah, Vital Ring's not an ideal item. It's just, that's kind of what I had, so... Run with what you got. Basic supplies, make sure I have a couple of potions and things like that for emergencies. My healers aren't too strong in terms of healing. They're very good at restoring, though. That's not entirely true. They are good at healing, just not the way that I have them built. Like, different items and passives for that. Here they're mostly just applying buffs, debuffs, and removing the debuffs from my team. So we came back to these Terra Drills, try to farm them up for what do they call them? Ship stones at this point. I want to say switch stones. So we did get one relatively quickly. I didn't buy that many monster bells because it shouldn't take that many to get these. So yeah, just a couple of refights here, and this also helps with that XP gap that I created. Catch up a little bit on that. These things are lower levels, so we're not getting much XP from them, but you know, fight him a couple times. And it's like maybe like one fight at my level. That XP deficit is something to keep in mind at all points. Like, once you create it, if you create it, you're always looking to make that up in some way, so you don't want to be super underleveled if you're trying to go quickly anyway. Because, like, yeah, you can kill things if you're 10 levels under in casual mode, but it's slow. It's not really a situation you want to be in. Because at that point, it's mostly just reliance on debuffs and tanking. Alright, another 5-star, no shift stone. I think we went through a couple of these. It's okay. Again, I wasn't too salty about it, because it's just making up that XP. I know that I can be salty anyway, because I think with the Terror Drills it's a rare drop, and the Mad Lords it's a common drop, but I could have that backwards, I don't recall. There's another one. No Shipstone. I wasn't thrilled at this point, but again, XP, so it's semi-worth it. The Shipstones do make it worth it, I think. And there it is, our last Shipstone finally. So, get that Lion Heroic Assault and get more crit chance, which is what Lion desperately needs. Most of its attacks give it crit damage, and I don't think has critical defense, or if it does, it's not so much higher level, so I tend to favor crit chance on it more than crit damage. So at this point, I knew it was about 17-18-ish. This would be a decent area to go to, start clearing. Get a little bit closer to 20. I don't want to finish this area because I don't want to actually go, you know, fight Zosimos yet and ship the whole world. But yeah, I figured it was a good point to get started with. Again, we're close to that threshold, that breakpoint, and I want to reach that as quickly as I can. So, just trying to keep that in mind. I know there's going to be a lot of fights through here. It has been pointed out that you can actually use Griffinix to skip this loop that I'm doing right now, which I at some point learned about and forgot. So I've honestly never used it. I've never done it myself. I've seen clips of it. I've seen people talk about it. It comes up every once in a while. So that's something I could have remembered and skipped this entire section with, which would have absolutely been worth it. But at the same time, like, I feel like that's, I don't know, you're not like, it's not sequence breaking. Like, I'm not glitching anywhere to do that. It's just Griffinix is really good at jumping. But yeah, in either case, I didn't end up doing that, so nothing to worry about. That exit that I just came out of is where you can jump up to with the Griffinix. Stuck in the corner. I was probably looking over at stream I was watching or Discord or something. Yeah. At that point I figured I would go check and see if I could purchase the crystal shards, because I really want those before I go down to Magma Chamber or Stronghold Dungeon. They're just useful for getting out, moving around in it. Yeah. Oh, actually, this isn't where I went to go check for the crystal shards. I think I was going to grab the waypoint here. Yeah, just a little more XP and another waypoint that I can get. Could have also just continued in the Sun Palace. Nothing wrong with that. There's a little more audio funk, at least I'm hearing it, so I'm assuming it's also in the recording. I apologize if so. I was definitely a little distracted at this point. You can see right here, I should have jumped across that gap. There's some iron in that chest, and I know that. I just was not really paying attention. I think I was like hung up on the crystal shard situation, like how I could fix that, so my mind was kind of in another place, autopiloting through this. Just invest in some quick points. I've got everything that really matters. I know respect's coming up at 20. I don't know why I skipped that pack. I decided to just keep going because I'd already skipped it, and then realized this isn't the way that I want to go yet. So I came back and fought him anyway. Again, just kind of in another place here. It's just free XP right there. Shuffle back over to the Sun Palace because I'm still putting off the inevitable where I do the dungeon and magma chamber without crystal shards because I didn't go pick them up earlier by the Spectre. Realistically, like, it wouldn't take much time to go get them and probably would have been worth it, and I'm still like obsessing over that, so going the wrong way here. I can tell you this is where my headspace was at in this part of the run, because I remember, like, I don't know, I just hate doing those two areas without crystal shards. It's a lot of backtracking, basically. You can otherwise avoid. I was also a little concerned, because I know at the end of this section, I like to crystal shard out instead of going through, I think, 3 encounters. And it makes those encounters optional, but that's 3 extra encounters I have to add to the enemy level, and that I also have to fight now, which takes more time. So, again, pick up those crystal shards. You only need 3 of them. One for the cure, one for magma chamber, one for Sun Palace, or sorry, one for Stronghold Dungeon, and that's what they give you is 3, so that's literally perfect. Some nice juicy mimics here. Tether them so they don't dodge so much, and then just AoE magic them down. See, we're getting towards the end of the tier 2 curve, so we're approaching 20, feeling very strong, and then 20 is going to happen, and that'll stop. We'll hit a power spike, so will everything else, more or less. We'll be babies in the tier again. Realistically, I think what it comes down to is mana, because as you enter each tier, you either have to put on mana gear, like more mana gear than you would normally need, because your mana stat isn't high enough to actually either cast the spells or repeatedly cast them with mana regen. So you basically have to itemize for mana, which means you're not itemizing for damage, or you itemize for damage, but then you're short on mana, so you can't actually cast the higher level spells yet. So anyway, as you approach like the middle of the tier, your base stats get higher, and you start getting the mana to actually cast those. And by the end of the tier, you have all the important passives, typically. So, another pretty straightforward puzzle. The first cycle, you run in, you go to the right side, and you pull the lever closest to you in the middle here. Then you go to the top platform, pull both of those levers, fall back down, go up the top, pull the lever I just pulled, go back up the middle, pull the far lever in that nook, and then go to the top platform, I think pull both levers again, and then at that point everything is more or less open, so just loop around as I did. These were a fun find with Firestorm. Unfortunately, I didn't get the kill. What I should have done is just Fireclawed one, because with all three of these guys out here healing each other, and getting 0 crits on that second Firestorm, this became a slog of a fight that it didn't need to be. I could have played this differently and not relied on the RNG. But it's okay. It didn't take too long, just like an extra turn or two than it should have. Alright, we got another champion coming up. Target here. This guy's weak to magic, so I'm just gonna go ahead and buff up the lion. Not too concerned about any damage he does. It's only tackle, which I'm not weak to on any of my monsters, so he can do whatever he wants over there. I'm just gonna hit him until he dies. As you can see, the tackles are negligible, even with all the charges he had. So at this point, I didn't have the mana, again, for Jewel Blast, so I had to use a non-magic attack, just neutral efficacy, which, it's okay. Obviously, I'd rather use a magic attack and just kill him. Jewel Blast got no crits there, or if it did, I didn't see him. It might have just been like 1 crit, but whatever it wasn't enough to be relevant damage, so still stuck. There they go. There's all the crits at once. Alright, so right here is where you can crystal out, instead of going into the room that I just entered, but I didn't have crystals. So if you go in this room, there's 2 encounters, so I go, pop those XP bubbles. And then further to the left, there's 1 more encounter before the waypoint. So 3 extra unnecessary encounters. A lot of wasted time. Because I didn't get to pick up the crystal. That's how that goes, though. Don't make mistakes and you won't have to improvise. Pretty straightforward stuff here, just kind of firestorm everything down. Getting that XP. It's grabbing procs for more combo and whatnot. Basically just more damage boosts. Those 3 unnecessary combats done, we can finally move on and continue the required stuff. skill potion in that chest. At this point, still putting off the crystal shard issue. Decided maybe Kanko would put me over the edge, so that's where I could just go buy crystal shards. So I figured I would just finish up Sun Palace and at least check what Zosimos has, maybe kill him. There are some pickups along the way there. There's a room you can break into that has smoke bombs. There's another room that has mangoes and I think some gold. And there's another room, if you have a grapple monster, you can get into that has a +5 shuriken. Unfortunately, we did not have a grapple monster, so that was not an option. But right here on the left, there's a room that opens if you pull this grapple hook. And it opens to a +5 shuriken, which is obviously a huge pickup this early, if you have the grapple for it. I did pick up another skill resetter in a chest just now. Just was useful to have. Like I said, I like to respec at each threshold, so I'm gonna need a minimum of 9 of those throughout a run, probably more. Just because I tend to make mistakes and respec again. Check in on Zosimos. And we see his team, which is only 1 level ahead of us and not that threatening. So I decided to just go for it while I'm here. Knock it out, get it done. And my hope was to kill Kanko after and get crystal shards out of the shop. I wasn't sure how many champions I needed to get there, or how many I had, just kind of winging it. So, funnily enough, Zosimos, Grummy went down, and I wasn't really paying attention to his monsters, but he replaced it with another Grummy, which I should have just killed also, before it started aging and regenning everyone, but I literally didn't even notice the Grummy got replaced. When I saw it, I did a double take, I was like, wait, I thought I killed that already. Sure enough, he's got 2 on him. But even though my monsters aren't doing great at healing, they are, you can see, keeping all the debuffs off, which is pretty impressive against Double Grummy, Slime, Thornish, and Mori. Like, those are some debuff heavy monsters, so even though I'm taking a lot of damage here, I'm not overly concerned, because most of it's from the debuffs that I'm removing. At this point, I figured that Blob's gonna die and all the debuffs on it, so just go all in on Thornish. Alright. So, at this point, I forget about Kanko, and start to head out. Back here though, pretty quickly. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'll find out. I was gonna go check the shop because I hadn't actually checked to see if crystal shards were here, and they are not. I could have sworn I headed to Kanko at this point, but apparently not. That would have been a better call. Just to, you know, see if that's gonna push me over the edge. And then screwing up the levers that I had touched earlier. I thought they were in the default state, so I played it accordingly, and they were not. Alright, grab some more free XP here in the woods. We also go into one unnecessary room here in the woods, and I probably shouldn't have. It was for iron, which normally I grab in the like tribal runs that I've been doing, but for a Bravelocke like this, I don't think it's worth it, because one, I'm already past iron on most of my gear, and two, that stuff comes from drops a lot of the time anyway, so... Plus I'm about at the point where I can just purchase it. So that little detour was not worth it, but... Again, lessons learned. So we hit level 20, there's my level 20 respec. I'm just putting in the actives that I know I want, and then I will decide on some passives. High priority damage passives first, and then if I have points after that, then I start looking at what's left. Start grabbing actives, because I'm at the what's left point. Health overload probably would have been good, but yeah. Just going quick. So same thing here, grabbing the actives I want, then the passives from the deleted active tree. The way that I'm prioritizing here is I pick a tree that I know is important, like one that I know has either actives or passives that I just want, I have to have, and I fill that tree out. Then I move to the next tree, the same thing, the next tree, the same thing. And if there's a tree left over that's not touched after, that's usually fine, because, I don't know, most of the time that's how that goes anyway. There's usually a tree that you just don't need for the role the monster is playing at the time. Some more move shuffling. And same thing with lion. All the spread out debuffs here, particularly the weakness coming from the Bacchus, probably would have meant that it would have been smarter to just single target these down, because they were making the fight take longer than it should. So that's maybe a misplay, but I think it was only an extra turn or two. So here's what I was talking about. I went to unnecessary room for iron that I didn't need, and I had to do an extra fight as a result. These guys right here. Alright, I realized my detour was a waste of time, started heading back to where I actually need to go. Griffinix made this relatively easy. I want to say it's a combo potion, and I don't know what the other is. This right here is bronze, though. Also a nice pickup if you come here early. At this point, because I did not have any crystal shards, I decided to just go ahead and do this area, or at least get it started, because this entrance is really close to the relic thing you have to pick up. Unfortunately, what I forgot was to go grab the Stronghold dungeon keys, which were the whole reason I came down to that corner in the first place. So, yeah, I had to backtrack there later, but we'll get to that. So through here is going to be a bunch more XP, and we'll get the magma chambers started at least to clear it up later. I don't know if fighting the Azerax was worth it, just because they have ambush, so they're hard to hit initially, and then they have blinding stuff, which can slow things down, but we had a pretty lucky opener, so worked out okay. I don't know, basically this could have been a slower combat than it needed to be, and might not have been worth it. Because of luck, it was worth it. So normally, if you have the keys from the Stronghold dungeon, that right there can be a decent place to just crystal out, because you can go do the beach later and enter the magma chamber at the top, get the waypoint there quickly. You've already got the relic, and then all you have to do is just go down to the bottom area again to finish the area. But again, mistakes were made. Costly mistakes. So at this point, since I don't have the crystal shards, I'm just routing back up to the waypoint manually. Yeah, just an unfortunate amount of time, but it is what it is. It's a mass potion, which is quite useful. Just a big AoE potion. So again, not concerned about any of these. They can do a lot of damage to my Scorch, but my Scorch is very tanky, and they're all weak to Earth, which Lion covers very well, so... Like the rest of this seed, really, Lion just kind of covers everything. It's fantastic. Lots of normally annoying monsters, but Tether helps a lot with that, so as long as they were the Lion, I'm just gonna kill him anyway. So lots of friendly fights this seed. This is what made this so quick. Just, I didn't have to think about entering any of the fights, they were all just favorable. Not all, but you know, the majority. So there's our waypoint, here's where we have to bring the relic thing, talk to Will, do all that nonsense. And at this point I decided to go check for the crystal shards, finally, go kill Kanko, and see if I could access those. Those are, you can tell, this really made like such a big difference. It changed how I had to route a lot, it was weighing on me a lot. I think I worked it out okay, though. That's kind of the fun of running these, though, is like, stuff can go wrong, and it's not always your fault. Like, sometimes it's just the way you get the Explorer abilities, like the order they come in. In some seeds, it can force you to route differently, but also just the monsters you're running into can force you to route differently. So, yeah, big fan of the Bravelocke, they're pretty fun. I'm not as big of a fan of the RNG mode, because I do think, like we saw at the beginning of this run, it just tends to make most of the game trivial, but on casual mode, I think that's kind of the case anyway, so It's pretty fun for these contests. I'm not sure I'd want to do something like this on Master. I do Bravery Permadeath on Master, but just without the RNG mode. It throws such a weird wrench into the difficulty curve based on availability and shifting early, stuff like that. Anywho, at this point, I was planning to go to the left and finish up the Stronghold dungeon, and then I remembered that I hadn't gotten the keys from earlier, so I actually had to, basically, there's no reason to come to this room yet. I could have gone around another way, but we were gonna have to track through here anyway, so it's not like this was a waste. Just, kind of weirded me out. It's a different route that I'm used to taking. At some point during that fight I realized I didn't have the keys, so I'm just gonna get them this direction. Again, all these fights we're going to have to encounter anyway, so it's not like these are excess. I didn't necessarily have to encounter them, but I do have to enter this room. Again, unless you have crystal shards. Then you can just crystal shard out, go to the waypoint, never even enter this room, but what an option. What an option this time. It does make me wonder how much faster it could have gone, though, routing this better. At this point, I'm all turned around because I don't do this stuff. Wait, I did have crystal shards. Where did that come from? This might have been a drop. I don't even know. I checked my inventory, saw a crystal shard, and used it, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that's generally the strat, is to go down there, grab the keys, and crystal out, but I don't remember having crystals at this point. Oh, wait, you know what? I was talking through the Kanko situation. I'm pretty sure after Kanko, I was able to buy crystal shards, that's why I have them. Cool, okay, so that makes sense. So yes, Kanko was a good call, I just should have done it way earlier. Way earlier. Going to Stronghold Dungeon before doing Kanko was the wrong move, basically. Oh my goodness, yeah. So the worm almost killed my tar blob there. I'm lucky that I built him relatively tanky, and I'm lucky that he didn't die, because it was right on the edge. I could have barriered the Scorch turn 1, but I didn't expect that kind of damage to come out on tar blob of all things. I expected that on Scorch, but yeah. In any case, onward. You can see I had 2 keys. We only actually used 1 because I crystal past the other door. It's kind of an amusing thing. You can just have this key forever. XP bubbles on the way to the next outpost. Is this one Vallalar? The yellow one. That's him. Blobs aren't too much of a threat, but they are rather annoying with the preparation. You notice they all started with a bunch of buffs. There's 3 sets of preparation there. don't really have too much to add to these trash fights. They're just XP grind. Get that XP as you go. In the first contest, I skipped a lot of fights and figured I would just make up the XP later, and I think that was a mistake. I feel like it took longer to grind than it did to just fight things along the path. So, I don't know. Because what happens if you grind is you go to a grind spot, and you're either, you know, under-leveled, which takes forever to kill things, or you're over-leveled, so you're not getting that much XP. If you're on par with the area, then you start to become over-leveled. And you have to either find a new area, or just grind through the lessened XP. So, I mean, this game doesn't encourage grinding. Like, it does try to disincentivize it to an extent, I think, so I'm kind of glad it works that way. I'd rather just fight the things along the way than skip them all. I don't know. It felt more efficient, but this run was also just crazy. Just the seed. Not the run, but the seed itself. Speaking of crazy, nothing really crazy in this fight. Diavola's a little scary to see, so I decided to like scout it with the tar blob there, and it did apply bleed, which meant that I shouldn't have attacked it with the lion, but I did anyway. I don't know, lived through it. It could have been death. You don't want to attack Diavola until it's the last monster, because the reflected bleed is just nasty. Like it'll be a real kill. In fact, in the first Bravery contest, I did lose a monster to Diavola as at least one monster. I think I lost multiple, but I know for a fact one of them was Brutus. I had just put Brutus on the team, and came up to Diavola. He had replaced Asura, so he was, you know, decently high level and all that. I figured I would just punch it with the Brutus without putting any buffs on Brutus or comboing or anything. Just have Brutus punch it, just directly straight out of the fight. He did that, it applied a bleed stack, and the bleed stack killed him. Because what I didn't take into account was my HP was really, really low compared to the damage that I was doing, because I was like 5 levels under the Diavola, and that was not good. So I'm gonna sidetrack here. I just talked to Will, and you'll notice I forgot to go to the relic chamber to the right of the waypoint. I do this sometimes, and I hate it. Because I didn't even realize till I get all the way to the bottom where the lava's still there, and you're supposed to go clear the lava by putting the relic thing in. And yeah, that didn't happen, so we wasted a few minutes here, unfortunately. I was skipping some of those fights because I knew I had been through here at a lower level, and didn't particularly want to fight them. Again, for less XP. Yeah, at that point I realized the lava's still there, so I had to crystal out, go back to this waypoint, talk to Will, lower the lava, and then do it all again. Yeah, that was not a great play. I was a little distracted. I looked away at chat or something, and the stream was watching at that point. Just jumped straight down a pit. So more time lost, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just going quick. I'm not a speedrunner. I don't know like speedrun routes and stuff. It's just things that I picked up by playing the game a lot. Plus, I don't know how relevant speedrun strats are for a Bravelocke, just because you don't have the, you know, same monsters everywhere, including your own team. So I don't know how the speedrun would work. Not really my thing, but it's about as close as I'll get to it. I call them speed jogs. It's just play as quickly as I can, as quickly as I know how. But there's no crazy tech going on. I don't know why I decided to fight these on the way back. Because I skipped them the first time, I should have skipped them the second time, for aforementioned reasons. About them being lower level and not with as much XP and whatnot. But again, speed job, that's how it goes. This isn't like planned out, I don't have the, you know, perfect instructions for all this stuff, just kinda winging it. So down we go, further into the magma chamber. We take care of Rhazes and whatever the Asura replacement is. So not only did I not want to be in this fight, I also went to go forfeit and realized forfeit's not an option because it's a wild monster. Ended up full offensing myself, and then had to swap them out after. So just more spaghetti on top of the spaghetti pile. So those were new monsters. Those could have been worth fighting, but they were also Darnations, which are, in a pack of 3, kind of concerning, and relatively bulky, so I'm not sure how I felt about that. In this case, the Akhlut is a little scary to my, whatchamacallit, Tar Blob, so that's, you know, a concern, but thus far I felt pretty safe, so... Next fight, I think, yeah, it's got 2 Akhluts in it, so a little more concerned about this one just because I can't burst 2 of them down at the same time. So I decided to barrier and just focus on one of them. On that way, I don't have 2 Ice Bolts gonna get my Tar Blob, or 2 potential Ice Bolts. I'm gonna promptly remove the other. So at this stage, there is some optional loot with an encounter attached. I decided not to go for because I didn't want to boost levels more than I already had. That is to the left of this room. I think it's a crafting material, it's kind of a gem, but I don't hold me to that. You can see I almost went in. I also opened that shortcut just in case, and I have no idea what happened with that Darnation there. He just like clipped into the slope and then, I don't know, displaced him above or something. It was weird. But the shortcut, I opened that because, and this is kind of a silly reason, but like I have had it before where I go to either Monster Bell before the Alchemist fight because I want to get like 1 or 2 more fights in to get that last level in, or sorry, not or, but when I do that, sometimes I'll miss the bell and hit the Crystal Shard instead and end up teleporting out. And in that case, you want the shortcut open. It's a long run back. So, it's basically just safety against myself, because I know that I have that habit, and it's not good. Alright, so Rhazes. Looking at this field, everything's fairly durable or dodgy, so it's kind of hard to really kill anything. I figured I would just apply a bunch of debuffs, and see where that takes me. Because they didn't look like they were threatening my team very much. Just keep the debuffs off myself, and ran out of mana, so I had to decide to kill something. And then a Terradrill comes out. That's a problem. So when I saw that Terradrill, I was concerned, because Terradrill is going to remove all the burns from the field. Which is really aggravating, so I just wanted to basically, like, I wasn't sure if the Terradrill would die, so I removed the Kara Blow because that will obviously restore things, and then at this point I'm deciding, do I want to kill the damage dealer, or do I want to kill the Terradrill? And it looked like I couldn't kill the Terradrill, so I went for the damage dealer, and I'm not lying. So again, this Terradrill is annoying me, because it's just removing all my burns, but I also can't easily remove it. It's more efficient to just kill the other monsters. As unfortunate as that is. Finally see an opportunity where I can kill it, go ahead and do so. With a reasonable level of consistency. And once more, I can't cast the Jewel Blast, so I have to rely on the low level Ignite, but it was enough anyway. Mad Eye's not too tanky. to magic attacks. Alright, a couple more XP bubbles on the way down to Asura, and then, or Asura's replacement. And we actually have the magma chamber wrapped up, so at this stage we have done the snowy peaks, we have done the magma chamber, we've done the sun palace, we have entered the workshop, got the waypoint there, we've entered the beach, got the waypoint there, or next to the beach anyway. What else? Blue Caves, Mountain Path, obviously those are done. So we have remaining the workshop, the beach, the underworld, and the Forgotten Tower at this point, I believe. About 2 hours into the run, 4 zones remain. Unless there's something I'm forgetting. We did finish the Ancient Woods, Goblin King, all that's dead, so it's done. Come to think of it, Goblin King's probably optional, and I've just never realized. Because the chests behind him are just mundane loot. I don't know. There may be another flag for Goblin King that I'm not thinking of. For some reason in my mind he's always been required, but I'm actually not sure now. In either case, I wanted to, again, remove an Akhlut. We got an unfortunate bout of lack of crits because I didn't full offense the Lion. I bulwarked to save the tar blob from potential ice bullets. So that was maybe a questionable call. I probably should just kill an Akhlut. But yeah, that's where it put me. If you did that much damage with the poison bomb, I can only imagine what a crit ice bolt would have done. Probably would have killed the tar blob. So that was a big risk. There is silk in that chest, or linen, one of the cloth materials. Opted not to grab it because this run was feeling pretty smooth. I really feel like I needed a whole lot of upgrades, so we're doing okay with what we had. You can see the Asura was replaced appropriately with the Bravelocke, something else that just loves punching things. So the main thing to be concerned with here was the tar blob. If he got watery punched or whatever, that could be a problem. So yeah, freezing punch, that's what I'm thinking of. But he tanked it pretty well. He's got 2 age stacks in the bulwark, so that obviously helped the pot. Plus all the bulk I put on him, food and items and whatnot. Unfortunately, we leave it alive, just barely. But go ahead and finish up the fight pretty quickly. At this point, also glad that we have the crystal shards finally, because running up and out of here is annoying. So, just crystal shard out, and head to the next zone. So at this point I could have gone to the beach or to here. Yeah, either way. I decided to just go here because I'd already grabbed the waypoint and started this earlier. And it's pretty quick for it to just knock it out. The beach is even quicker actually, but I don't know. Doesn't really matter which order you go in, you gotta do both of them anyway, so this is what I picked. I guess one benefit to coming here is you do get a lot of gold and linen, potentially. I think not only from chests, but normally from the mimics and ornithopters as well. In this case, still the ornithopters, because it's like they got replaced with ornithopters, which was interesting. But the mimics did get replaced with these Crocoturtles. I was hesitant about fighting them because I know Crocoturtle can be really tanky and annoying, which ended up being the case. Smarter decision would have been to single target one of these down instead of Firestorm, thinking the debuffs would kill them. Forgetting that they're resistant to fire, so not only am I not doing that much damage, but then the debuffs aren't doing that much damage either. So things got awkward quickly. This was a big time waste, I would say. And it could have been saved by just single targeting properly. Notably though, because that was a learning experience, and there are another triple set of these later in that we have to fight to get a key here, it kind of prepared me for that. So once I got in, that fight was a lot quicker and easier than this one. So, I guess learn from your mistakes. Or try to. So we got a key down here we gotta grab, and you can see the Ornithopters got replaced with Ornithopters, so this is a pretty normal thing to see here, actually. XP bubbles are popped. Grab that key. Notably, there's also a +5 feather down here, which I believe we do swap and put onto the lion. Replacing something else, yeah, I think a gauntlet. I don't think it's necessarily better, but because the lion has been struggling with mana, and not with defense, I figured that was probably a good call. I think on a fully built lion, I might change that to something else, maybe even the gauntlet, but as we are not fully built, feather made more sense. Goblins are nice to see in here, just easy kills. So, at 20+, there should have been more consideration for Griffinix instead of Tarblob. The reason being, one, the regen synergy with the Lion, two, more burn synergy. Yes, Tarblob has some of that, but Griffinix has more. Three, Griffinix is going to heal more. I guess that depends on how you build it, but in general, with items and stuff I've got, I kind of felt like the Griffinix would be a better healer, whereas the Tarblob is a better restorer, and I already had a restorer through the Scorch. So, yeah, I think it would have been worthwhile to switch in the Phoenix earlier than I did. I did end up using him later, but, yeah. Nobody died, but it could have been potentially quicker if I'd used the Phoenix, I think. Because Overheal was giving me like 0 value, and debuff variety wouldn't have given me much either. I'm mostly just applying burns. And I think Griffinix has access to an early multi-burn, so I could have basically could have replaced the one that Tarblob would be using. And on top of that, Griffinix also has burn down, which makes your burn do a lot of extra damage. So, yeah. Alright, so we have our second key. We had one more to get from the triple Mimic fight, which, if you recall, is a triple Krakatoturtle fight. So, having already done one of those and flubbed it, I think we have a better plan in mind. Gobos for the free XP. Speaking of Gobos, we're going to be heading up to the Goblin Pilot and see what replaces it shortly. It's pretty much going to wrap up the workshop. Quick work to that room, cleared out the stuff inside of it, so we can head down to the Kraken Turtle fight here. And you'll see this one is a lot cleaner. We go ahead and tether everything down, and then just attack the weakest Kraken Turtle and kill it before it can put up too much regen or shield for its allies. Rinse, repeat. Alright, there's our third and final key. This leaves the Horizon Beach, followed by the Underworld, followed by the Tower. This is the only order we can go in now. There's another encounter in the bottom left of this room. I'm used to skipping it because it's normally Polterofens, which on Master Difficulty have Volatile Shield, which will absolutely murder you because they have boosted stats, so their HP is higher, which means the Volatile Shield proc, which scales off of HP, is murderous. So I normally skip the bottom left fight in this room, and I kind of forgot it was a Bravelocke. I could have checked and maybe gotten some more XP there, but that's okay. Basically just one extra encounter that I missed, added to the XP gap. Alright, so Asura normally is in the Magma Chamber. He replaces the Goblin Pilot in this seed, so he's the Mechanical Workshop boss. Which, again, should not be too threatening. He does fire damage, and he does normal damage, so scares to Scorch a little bit, but Scorch has been pretty beefy so far. Yeah. The buff stealing is kind of annoying, but this isn't a fight that I really need to think too much about. Just gonna keep my monsters topped off and attack him until he's dead. Like so. So with that lever pulled, we have completed the workshop. Just a bit over 2 hours in. We're also approaching level 30, which is nice because some minimum area level stuff we'll talk about a little bit later, but we want to be as close to 30 as we can be by the time that becomes relevant. If not already at 30. So, a little bit more maintenance, spec our monsters, fix up some gear. Gear's not optimal, I just kind of slapped things on as I had it and leveled it up. I can certainly find better picks among the stuff that I have, but again, there's no need to waste time on that if I'm, like, cruising through all the content already. At this point I realized I hadn't hatched my Thornish from the Sun Palace, which I didn't even realize I got. I knew I got a swimming monster, but I forgot to check it, so it was Thornish. And yeah, when I saw Thornish, I was like, oh wow, this seed's kind of crazy, because you can do Thornish, Diavola, Bleed Out, and I don't know, whatever else you want to put, Tarble Out, Overheal on top of that. And you can just like stall out everything with that. Obviously it'd be slower than what we're doing, but it'd be safer. So, kind of a crazy seed. Some really, really solid options, just like the last one. These are handpicked by the devs, from what I understand. So they do spend some time, I guess, combing through seeds and looking for ones that would be interesting or fun for the contest runs. Or that's what they've done thus far. I skipped that fight because 2 Magma Pillars and a Draconoir, or whatever that is I don't know, that sounded like a slow fight, because Magma Pillars have a lot of regen, application, and passives, as does the dragon. It's got like shield regen and other stuff, plus these 2 would be burn shielding, plus regular shielding. Like, it just sounded like it'd be a slow fight. Minitaur I know it could take out relatively quickly, he wasn't going to make the Magma Pillars better. Once he was gone, they were easy fodder. So at this point, because we got a improved swimming monster, we don't actually have to do most of the beach. And we've already got improved flight through the Griffinix, so we don't need... And also, normally you would have encountered Draconoirs if you took the route that I took, and it wasn't a randomizer. And you would have improved flying anyway, but you do have to normally go get improved swimming here, which you can luckily skip, because that's like 2 or 3 extra encounters and a lot of swimming. So, yeah, another nice thing with this seed. I got a little turned around here. I thought this was the entrance, but it's just loot. I don't even know what that is. Probably a skill potion or something. So, King Blob, very, very weak to debuffs, but also very good at cleansing them. So, kind of annoying. Something I wanted to remove from the field, basically. I'm worried about the little Crackle Knight. Alright, at this point, there's gonna be a little, like, swapping on and off while swimming. Some of that is just because I'm antsy and like to press buttons. Some of that is to speed through areas, like those little water jets. If you are improved swimming, then those water jet things don't affect you. The currents or whatever are there. So I take off the improved swimmer to let the water push me down faster, basically. It's minimal time save, but again, it's another fun movement thing, so I like throwing it in. Really go over there, just like swim. Here, I don't know if this is faster, but I do like to jump and re-swim. I feel like, I don't know, because it resets your jump, that you get more height quicker than you would just holding up swimming, but again, I don't know that for sure. That's what that little movement was about. So these guys all have a lot of regen, like the Magma Pillars I was talking about. They don't have a ton of shielding, so I figured I could just go in, take them out. Wouldn't be too bad. Worst case scenario, I would just focus down the King Blob, single target, and then worry about what's left. At this point I was a little concerned because I didn't have an improved flying monster. I just had the lofty mount, and I wasn't sure if that actually counted for this quest flag, so I jumped down there to see if Leonard was still in the pit or not. He was not, so lofty mount appears to count, and yeah, that was good. Alright, so now that we've done all that nonsense, we can go to the Julia and Elderjel fight, and that will conclude the majority of the content. At that point, we just have the Underworld and the Tower, which are kind of, you know, in-game zones, so not much left. I did skip an encounter there, just backtracking to it would have been a pain, and Famagus is kind of a pain anyway, so just, I don't know. Again, didn't feel like it was struggling, didn't feel like I needed the excess XP, was pretty happy with where I was at, figured I'd just keep going. These I don't have to go out of my way for, figured I'd just give it a shot, see how the Famagus do. Then I accidentally full offense to my Blob instead of the Lion, so I reset the fight to fix that, otherwise this could turn into a slog. Smarter option would have probably been to just Fire Claw the Yowie, make sure it dies. Just because Yowie does provide that regen to the team, they're going to be weakening, they're going to be shielding. Again, this has potential to turn into a slog of a fight. So, luckily we got some disgusting crits on that Firestorm, and that ended that. So this Memorial Ring, I think, is required to pick up, but it's also not in a green chest, so I don't know that for sure. I just pick it up because it doesn't take long, and again, I think it's required. Chest up there, I think, is a skill potion. I have plenty of those. Triple Famagus is a pretty, I think, straightforward option, just Firestorm it. Burn them all down that way. So Julia fight. I'm looking at the openers. We got two bulky monsters and a debuff monster. All those things enjoy debuff, so I figured I'd remove the squishiest one, even though they're all a pain. Then I see the Akhlut hit the field, which I'm pretty sure is Dark Shift, but I can't tell because it's underwater, so I decided to just go ahead and remove it. The Ebola comes out. We talked about the Ebola. You don't want to attack that thing because you know, they eat problems, so that's a concern here. I don't think it's a concern I respect it. Probably should have. But we'd take some risks attacking the Ebola with our Lion at some point. So here we are again. We've got squishy option, 2 tanks. I'm just going to get the squishiest option, just the Eagle. Oh, that's, yeah, I'm taking a risk on the Ebola. Luckily the bleed didn't murder me. It's just an AoE. Oh, this is not the Eagle I was thinking of. We fight another Eagle at some point, I believe. And it was a pain. That Eagle is fine. Alright, our Elderjel is a poor little Manticore, so that's gonna get obliterated. Squishier monsters out there with a physical weakness, which Lion very much enjoys. Alright, and that wraps up the beach. So we grab our token, and things get a little funny right here. I'll talk about that. So, well, I guess there's some respecking, retooling to do. So at this point I decided, you know, we've got the Eric fight coming up, we've got the Underworld, and then all of the Tower, which is quite a bit of potential risk for death, so I'm going to go ahead and spec out some of these extra monsters that I can swap in case the monsters I have go down. Like the only things I hatched at this point are the 6 that I have, so I spec 2 of the extras, and I think I left the Diavola alone because honestly I'd probably just switch it out for one of my eggs if I was going to use it, but I didn't foresee the need to have 3 backups, like this run was going so smoothly. So I figured I'd have the 2 and that would be more than enough. So that's Griffinix. Expect him mostly as a tanky healer, or as tanky as Griffinix really is going to get anyway. Just to replace the Caragla, or the Scorch if that goes down. And then Thornish is here to replace the Tarblob if that goes down. Or just, if anything goes down really, Thornish is no-brainer swap in. Keeps things safe, debuffs the heck out of the opponents. We have plenty of multi-debuffs going on, especially with the burn. So, Thornish was a good option here. I wasn't too worried about specking him out. You know, he'd get some use. Probably should have fed the bananas to my primary monsters, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. So we go in here, check on upgrades, all that good stuff. Finish our maintenance up. And then I mentioned things get a little squirrely, so if you have been following along since the start, you may have noticed that I didn't actually fight Akhlut, or whatever the Akhlut replacement is. So I went to go talk to Eric, or I think I'm going to go buy items here, but Eric after. And when I went to go talk to Eric, he was not giving me the dialogue that I expected, which confused me because I was pretty confident I had completed all the areas. So I checked the follower dialogue thing and learned that Akhlut's still alive. And then even after killing Akhlut, there was still the same text. So this text right here, will stand here and watch for the alchemist. Normally, if you're ready, he'll tell you to go down to the Blue Caves and he'll meet you there for a challenge. So that's the text I was looking for. I didn't see that, so I knew something was wrong. So check the alchemist plot. This tells me about nothing useful really. And then finally tells me Frozen Oracle, which is Akhlut. So we go deal with that. And our Akhlut replacement is Goblin Warlock. Very easy kill. The poison bomb on Lion could be a little dangerous, but otherwise I wasn't really concerned about this guy. And he would have to full offensive self and then poison bomb me, which even if he did that, I don't think it would have killed the Lion. So we just full offense ourselves and murder it. Crystal out. Go talk to Eric again. Try to get that trigger to happen where he goes down to the Blue Caves, right? And I actually want to review this because I'm pretty sure he gave me that same text we saw last time. Yeah, I will stay here and watch for the alchemist. But then there's no more tips, there's nothing else to do. So at this point I was very confused. My Lion tells me to go to the Blue Caves, but Eric doesn't give me that trigger. So I don't know if Eric's going to be there or not at this point. I'm just going to go check and hope. Because, again, I'm used to seeing the dialogue that says he'll meet you there. I don't know if something went wrong, or if maybe doing things in the order that I did changed it. I really don't know. You see I was confused. I checked I had 4 Sanctuary tokens. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is it. So, we head on down. Go the wrong way, because that's what I do. Realize I'm going the wrong way. Leave. We go the correct way. And then the moment of truth. Eric's here. Why is he here? I don't know. I mean, I do know. Like, he's supposed to be here, but like, why didn't his text reflect that? That's what I was confused about. So, I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad he was here, but this concerned me during the run. fire weak monsters here. One thing I wasn't paying as much attention to was a lot of debuffs coming out. I was kind of cleansing them, but like I could have been antidoting and stuff, and that would have done a better job. I was being really aggressive here, and it almost became a problem because Thanatos hit the field, and I was like drowning in debuffs at that point. So I kind of needed to remove them, which meant I couldn't attack the Thanatos to kill it. I also needed to heal a bunch. So like I was just in a bad situation when that Thanatos hit the field, which I could have avoided by not letting the debuff stack up so much. But now you can see it begins to snowball against me. Things get very sketchy here. I mass antidote, I drop a mass potion, we're like at half health on most of our monsters, and I just have to attack. Just remove things from the field and hope we don't lose anyone. So, we lucked out, nobody died, we do get to mostly heal back to full, but we're not out of the woods yet. This is still pretty sketchy with the amount of debuffs we have down, and that Akhlut still being alive because of the Phoenix Affinity. So you can see Lion going real low there. We leave him at like half health with all those debuffs on him still, and the Amori alive. Like Amori could have easily just like attacked him and he would have gone down. So there was a lot of risks taken in this fight. At the same time, I knew that I had a bunch of eggs that I could just swap in, so while that would be a time loss, I think it was worth the gamble. Especially since it worked out. So, I don't know what egg that was, actually. I think that said Mad Eye, but I genuinely don't know what that egg was. Didn't really matter at that point, I had more than enough backups that I was confident in. On top of this already ridiculous team that we start with. The thing to note, and like really this could be taken into more consideration, is death can be used as a strategy. Like, not that dying helps you in any way, but like you can sacrifice monsters essentially to clear some of the harder fights. You can basically gear them up as glass cannons and just have them nuke the problems in that fight and then replace them with your actual team. Of course that, requires some forethought and maybe some extra upgrades, so you spend a little more time specking the trees, things like that. How worth it really is just kind of depends on how confident you are in your team. In this case, I didn't feel a need to do that because this team was just solid start to finish. But there have been runs where, like, I think Glowfly is probably my favorite example of that. Preparing Glowfly to take out Zosimos, just because it has lightning and fire attacks, and it does a ton of damage. So it's like a great Zosimos killer in the Sun Palace. It's also very squishy, so you're likely to lose it in the process, but that's okay, because like its whole point, or like the whole role I have allocated Glowfly to is killing Zosimos, for example. Obviously Glowfly has a lot of other uses, but I'm just saying, like in a run, in the context of a run, that's kind of where my thoughts are with it. So, in any case, most of these fights are pretty straightforward. You can see there's a lot of lava blobs around, which is kind of annoying because we do burn stuff, but considering the entire rest of the game pretty much was weak to fire, I can't really complain that much. I was kind of concerned by how good the seed was to start. I was concerned that at the end we were going to run into nothing but fire resistant mobs and I would have to like pivot to a different team, but that didn't happen. Everything at the beginning was weak to it, and then later on was neutral or weak to it, so it worked out. So as we get into the Underworld tower here, this first section, I almost messed up. You need to actually go down and retrieve a key. So we head down here and do that. We also see some more free XP. Interesting that Argeops show up here because I think that normally, I can't remember if this is a double Arachlich room with one Argeop or if it's a double Argeop room with one Arachlich. But in either case, normally there are Arachliches down here, so another replacement that was not quite replaced. I mean, I guess that can happen. That's not like a bug or anything. Just funny. You got multiple in this seed. For some reason, that lever, when you pull it, and that like pillar starts to move, that pillar is the only one you don't have to sit and watch. You can just move away from it. And I don't understand, why aren't all the other pillars that way? Like, why do I have to watch them? Like, there's no skip option, there's no... you just have to watch them, they're slow and annoying. I really hate this area, because it's just a lot of watching pillars. But, yeah. That's what I have to say about that. I went into that upper room, and probably shouldn't have, because I didn't have a Mega Rock, or not a Mega Rock, but a Big Rock explorability monster hatched, or at all even, I'm not sure. So there's not really much I can do up there. There's also no encounter in that room, so I don't think it changes anything, but it's a little time waste transitioning. So, with this one, you can pull this lever and go up once, and there's a shift stone you can grab. Or you can just push it down twice, and you'll be able to get out of here. I think if you push it down, yeah, twice, you can also get the skill resetter that's there, but not like a big drop or anything. Maybe it's a skill potion, can't recall. Either way, unimportant at this point. So, we got Leonard. I see a big Mega Rock on the field. Those hate burns, those hate fire damage. I'm just going to destroy it. Because I'm probably not going to be able to kill Targoat and Tarblob without more buffs up. So, just killing the squishies first, as usual. Kill what you can kill and deal with the rest. If there's a high priority, focus it first, but otherwise just kill the squishies. So I'm going to transition over to the Lava Blob here. Sorry, not the Lava Blob, the Tar Blob here. I want to stop it from aging too much, and also make these tether stacks off, because they're pretty annoying. So we're doing a lot of damage to the Tar Blob there. Even with an AoE. It's concerning to see, so I go ahead and focus the Wolf. Unfortunately miss and don't crit a bunch, so underwhelming. He doesn't die, but it's close enough and didn't punish me, so it's okay. Yeah, not much left at this point, just the tanks. Gonna let the Magma Pillar die to burn, and forgot I didn't regen, so it not only regen, I got a bunch of shield back. So basically another misplay by me. Not that it, changes the outcome of the battle, just a little more time loss. Any time loss matters, so I'll try to point it out. See my mouse coming on screen like that, I'm basically tabbing out and in between the Discord and the stream. try to do that during enemy turns, so I don't waste a lot of time. Or during long animations, like watching the pillars. Yes, I'm gonna complain about those the whole way through this area. Alrighty. We have 1 or 2 more combats here. Yeah, debated going back to the, tune up my gear and stuff, but again, we're cruising, so I didn't see a point. Just keep cruising if you're cruising. If you're struggling, go back and tune things up. But if you're just blowing through combats and not really in a whole lot of danger, keep going. Keep going until it becomes a struggle. So here's where I screwed up, and this is one of those things that I do with these levers, because I can't ever tell what state they're in. I came up here to pull the lever, didn't pull the lever, and then just started speccing my mons because they hit level 30. And that's what I do at level 30. So I forgot, wasn't sure if I pulled the lever, didn't want to watch the animation for it in case I already had. And, yeah, basically just wasted a whole bunch of time on that, so that was fun. So at this point you can see I've got the improved regen, and that's kind of what, keeps me off. Oh yeah, I have a Griffinix. I should probably swap that in instead of Tarblob, because even though Tarblob just got access to Blood Drive, which is great, I'm pretty sure Griffinix is going to do more with Burn Down and, just general healing. So we go in, spec all the actives we want, and all the passives, or the primary passives. We might leave a couple that we aren't sure on yet. Definitely want Purify. That's huge. It's another thing Tarblob does not have over the Griffinix as a healer. I really underutilized the Tarblob this run, I think. In multiple ways, not just the shift. So, a little disappointed in that, but that's okay. I saw Tarblob and I wanted to use it because I love Tarblob. Tarblob, Krakatoturtle, and Mega Rock, I think, are probably my top 3 monsters in terms of aesthetic and theme and stuff like that. So, yeah, if I see Tarblob, I'm probably gonna use it, even if it's not the best option. A little bit of personal bias there. And that's where I realized I had not pulled the lever, so we gotta go back outside, do that. Alright, and then I can start to kind of explain how to unravel this area, because there's a lot. There's kind of I think multiple ways you can do it, depending on if you have grapple or not, but in any case, when you first enter, you want to go down and open up the bottom path. Think of this area as having 3 layers, a bottom path, a middle path, and a top path. I'm going to refer to those a couple times throughout here. So we just went to the bottom path and opened it up. Now we're going up to the top path to go out and over, back outside. But there's a combat first. We came in through the middle path, we went down to the bottom path, and then we're looping over to the top path to exit. Point, I had forgotten to move the lion's moves around, so I thought I was going for a firestorm there, and I got an ignite. Just ran with it. Yeah. Anywho, so we exit out this way. You don't need to pull that lever again, but you can. There's access to a scythe if you want to get the scythe, which is obviously a great pickup, but I already had my shuriken pretty much upgraded, and I'm going to spend time on that, so. Down we go to the bottom path, now that we've opened it up. Basically the whole point is we went inside the castle, we went to the bottom path to open it, and then we exit through the top path, and then we go under the castle through the bottom path, re-enter on the other side of it. So that's where we're headed now. Alright, so while we're on this bottom path, there's another lever that we actually want to pull here. That is going to open up the middle path to get to the left side of the castle. Or whatever this fortress is. Structure, ruins, I don't know what you call this. Monoliths do not like debuffs, so Buran makes quick work of them. We open up that lever to go back inside to where we initially entered, and now we can go to the left with the bottom path also open. And we'll talk about why that's important shortly. Basically everything we've done at this point is just tunneling through the bottom. We've just been opening gates on the bottom. Now we're on the middle path. So we come down here, we pull this lever to move this block downward, which blocks us from going back up, but since we have the bottom path open, we can loop back around that way. So that's what this whole mess here is about to be. Spinner got replaced by Grulu. Very creepy laugh from Grulu. This side will pop some lava blobs for more XP. Just try to stay ahead of the curve. So here we go, looping around to the bottom. This lever was a bad pull. That opens optional loop, which you have to loop around another way to get. So don't pull that lever like I did. Just wasted a whole bunch of time watching this. And then we open these gates, and we know that the middle path is blocked from that block that came down, so we loop around the bottom to get back to the middle path. Now we're on top of the block, and we exit. Well, I didn't need to go here and grab that, but we exit at the top, and then loop back around to the middle. This is going to put us under that block again. No, above that block, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're above the block on the middle path. Now we go back to the right, loop around under again, so we can get to that, the block here that we need to raise. Now that we've opened that wall that we came through on the left side. So from here, we go back up to the top path from the middle path. And that lets us access, I mean obviously we had access to this lever before, but when we pull it, it's going to block the middle path off and open up the top path to access Draconoir, or whatever the replacement is. Alright, so middle path blocked, bottom and top path open. That's the state that we had things in. So we're gonna re-enter the castle, realize the middle path is blocked because, yeah, and then go back under, because that is open. You can kind of think of these top, bottom, and middle layers as open or closed, and that might help keep track of things. But yeah, anyway, that's that. Here we are, Draconoir. Hopefully that is useful, or, you know, relatively decent at explaining it. Alright, so we got an Elderjel, easy fodder for the lion. Honestly, at this level I was expecting it to have Phoenix Affinity, but it for some reason did not, so yeah, it just died. I think the bleed would have killed it anyway, but that was interesting. So, alright, we're done here. We have finished the underworld. The only thing we have left is the Forgotten Tower. So we're going to do some final tune-ups here. Just check our gear, see if we can upgrade if anything. Got a coat on the tar blob and hide, may as well upgrade on the Thornish. We are post 30, so some of these monsters, our backups, are going to get some respecs, and then we'll be on our way. Grabbing that critical boon, so our critical heals and critical attacks can buff our allies. I don't know why I fought these. I should have just jumped over them, and I realized that as soon as I entered the combat, so smoke bombed out. And then we have the will fight. The actual will fight, not one that we can just forfeit out of. I wasn't sure who to kill here, because all of these are annoying with debuffs. None of them are particularly awful. And they're all relatively beefy. But I stopped worrying about that because another Terror Drill hit the field. I think this thing replaced Magmoth, because we were seeing it in the Ancient Woods and also in the Rhazes fight. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure the Terror Drill replaced Magmoth here. Which is normally Will's scariest monster, typically. But in this case, they were just kind of debuffing me down, and I wasn't really sure what to do, because they're all so tanky, and getting through to that Terror Drill was going to be hard. I figured I would just do my best to cleanse the debuffs and apply my own back. And that worked out, because Burn Down is strong. The Worm very easily could have killed the Scorch there and did not, so that was quite lucky. And kill the Worm to make sure that doesn't happen again. Rolled dice once, we don't need to follow it a second time. So, that level Blob should die to debuffs, we're just going to focus on this. Actually, he dies to AoE, so yeah. I was going to say focus the Mega Golem down, that's that. Alright, so we got a Targoat out of here, which is another fantastic pickup that we're not going to use. Another unnecessary pickup, I should say. Alright, so I said we were going to talk about area level. The Forgotten Tower is area level 35. The Underworld is area level 30. There's a 5-level jump between those two. The thing is, that only applies to the wild monsters. And when I say area level, I mean the minimum level that monsters can be. So I talked about how monsters will globally level up with you based on encounter rooms you enter. There's also a minimum level for each area, so like Sun Palace is 18, Workshop I think is 24, this place is 35, so on and so forth. So the idea here is this does not apply to Keeper battles, it only applies to the wild monsters. So because we're 30, roughly on par with all the wild monsters in the Underworld, I was fine with fighting those. The ones here are going to take a long time and be dangerous, because they're level 35 and I'm only 31. Whereas the Keeper fights are still going to be about 31, on par with me. So we're just going to skip all of the combats in here. We don't need the XP anymore, we don't need, like, there's no real point. It's just added danger and added time. So at this point, we're just going to skip the monsters and beeline for the Keeper fights, which is why this is so quick now. If you pull that lever, it opens a door here to a skill potion. Again, not needed, but reminded me that, hey, skill potions exist, and I have backups that probably need those. Alright, so this fight right here, I dislike not the fight itself, but for some reason, when I am done with this fight, I always exit to the left instead of the right. And I think it's because of the way I'm facing here. Even though that doesn't make sense, I should, like, by my own logic of the way that I do wild encounters, I should exit right. But my brain wants to go left here every time. So after this battle, I go left and waste a bunch of time, like I always do. And then we figure out what happened, and move on. The fight itself is whatever. There's nothing really crazy going on here. There's a Nikki Naka, we blew it up. We've got an Azurak in the field, it's annoying, but I'm not too concerned about it, so we're just gonna let them die to debuffs. While simultaneously cleansing the debuffs from ourselves, because those do add on, as we learned earlier with the Eric fight. Can't be overconfident about that. Diavola on the field was a little concerning at this point, so I went ahead and single targeted to try to remove the other threats, and then figured we'd do Diavola last, because again, Diavola has that reflective bleed, and if the combat continues after you attack Diavola, there's a good chance that you will die. So that's not great. Yeah. So that was the explanation for that. That's the order of operations again, Diavola. Alright, so again, completely just missing the point, going left, as I do. This is an optional, I think, for a shift stone, which I didn't need. Don't quote me on that, though. I don't know what that item is. Fell in a pit. Alright. We're back on track now. I was kind of rushing at this point. I wanted to try to finish in under 3 hours, which I've never done. I think my fastest time is like about 5 hours, 5 hours, 10 minutes maybe? Somewhere around there. This seed was absolutely nutty, so I wanted to just keep the momentum, and sub 3 sounded awesome. So we just jumped straight into Zosimos fight, and then full offense the wrong monster. So, smoke bombed out. Probably just could have forfeit, honestly. I don't know why I didn't do that, but anyway, smoke bombed out. Full offense the correct monster this time, and then work on, you know, killing Crummy, as you do. Griffin X taking a bunch of debuff damage. That's going to kind of continue in this fight. There's a lot of poison going on, so I'm trying to remove the poisonous things like the Blob, the Grummy, and now Fumagus. So I don't know if Fumagus actually does a lot of poison. I think it's mostly weakened, but it evolves from fungi, so I have to imagine it has something involving poison. I really don't know the monster too well yet. Manticore, because that's most likely to actually, you know, do any relevant damage here, and then just go ahead and finish out the rest. Once again, skipping the wild fight, especially with the worm there. Not about to touch that. But all those encounters at level 35, I have no business wasting time on them. Alright, so we got Chymes coming up. He's still got his Psycho Phantom, as per usual. This is interesting. I saw a Plague Egg on the field. Just didn't feel like getting weakened, decided to take it out. Do have the options there, just Plague Egg or the Psycho Phantom, which, you know, it's got bulwark and, or sorry, it's got barriers and it's got blinding and stuff, but weaken is a problem, so I want to just prevent that problem before it occurred. This is the eagle I was talking about earlier. This eagle was a pain in the butt. So, I mean, I guess you'll see here. I'm basically trying to keep my monsters alive through, you know, debuffs and all that nonsense happening. There's a wolf on the field now, which is concerning. So I go ahead and attack the eagle, and I figured that bleed's gonna kill it. No. No. It lives with just a teeny tiny bit of HP. Gets restored, has regen, so it's got a bunch of health left, right? So I go, okay, well, it's burned, it's bleeding. I'm just gonna go ahead and, you know, AoE wipe. Get rid of it all, but god, what a pain in the butt. Alright. Couple last level ups here, and then we've got the final fight. I entered the fight and then exit immediately because I realized that I hadn't shown the seed in this particular clip. Like, I was taking an 8-minute clip with the recording at the end. so that I could post that separately from this, where I can actually do full commentary. So I went ahead and exited, show the seed, open the menu, show the seed there, and it put me all the way back down here, which is really aggravating. And then I realized I hadn't actually hit record for the clip, so I did it again, save and quit, recorded, and this time it actually put me in the room. But in any case, here we are, finally in the fight, everything's being recorded. We're still sub 3 hours, I'm pretty happy at this point. Decided to remove the Dracozool because I don't feel like getting chilled, even though the fish there is a big problem. And then an Arachnid hits the field. I didn't even think about that when I killed the Dracozool. So now we have two big threats on the field. I'm trying to AoE and kill them both. Thanks to Phoenix Affinity, that doesn't quite happen. So we risk another turn with both of them on the field, and that creates, some health issues. But at this point, I think we're mostly out of the weeds. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish them off with another AoE. That's all he's got left. Oculus and Gel. AoE those down as well. Finish it off. And then the Mad Lad himself. Which is actually a rainbow blob. Fun little surprise at the end, as always. So, this one's not too much of a challenge, but it is pretty funny to see at the end. Just gonna hit it with some magic damage. I wasn't sure if I should be Jewel Blasting it or Firestorming it, because that's my two higher level magic attacks. The Firestorm is the highest level, but it's also an AoE. And the problem is the Power Gem or whatever, the Earth one, he resists Earth, so it becomes neutral, which means I should just Claws instead. So like, there was a bunch of weird type matching stuff going on here. I didn't really pay as much attention as I should have. Could have killed it in fewer turns, but that's the end of the run, so I didn't really care. Sub 3 hours, I was happy. So, thanks for watching!